Good evening, you guys. I want to welcome you in. I'm waiting for people to be able to join us. And before I begin, I want to remind everyone, please be kind to each other. All right, you guys, good evening wherever you are joining us from tonight. I felt like I had a lot on my mind this week, especially with the press conference that went on the other day. I want to make it very clear, tonight is not going to be any type of debate whatsoever about what causes autism. I think it's more going to just be a discussion as an autism parent for all of us to share our thoughts together and share our experiences, talk about what works for us and what doesn't work. My name is Jennifer. If you're new here, welcome. Typically, yes, I do cover true crime cases, but I'm a mom, first and foremost, and I have a son on the spectrum. I spend a lot of time doing research on the spectrum, and I'm a former journalist. I had my son in 2018. Shortly after that, I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, which is an autoimmune disease. 2 years after that, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. So I've been around a lot of medical professionals, especially neurologists. So with that said, I compiled some information that I feel may be helpful. You may be pregnant right now. You may have a child that you think, could my child be on the spectrum? Or you just may be a parent joining in tonight who knows their child is on the spectrum and you are having questions about this new medication. Well, it's not new. It is a medication that they're talking about called Leucovorin. So we're going to talk about that. That's something I've also been researching. It is commonly used as a recovery drug after chemotherapy. And that is something I was researching after my breast cancer battle because my nervous system was so shot that I was looking for answers. Is there something that could help? And I came across a study that we will talk about more in depth, and I will show you an interview from Dr. Richard Fry. He's out of Arizona. He is a pediatric neurologist. And if I would have planned this ahead, I would have asked him to join us tonight and do an interview. I probably still will, but let us just start off with the very basics, guys. What is autism? And many of us, I think we know, it is a neurodevelopment disorder that impacts a child's ability to communicate and interact with others. Sometimes you're going to see repetitive behaviors and repetitive interests and activities, and these issues can sometimes cause impairment for the children in a social situation, an occupational situation, in other areas in their life. And I want to be very, very clear tonight. There is no cure for autism. But there's interventions that you can do that can make a difference to help your child's life. And I will provide links tonight to help you kind of navigate this. And you may have walked away from that press conference yesterday feeling even more confused than you did before. I personally did not, because I knew what was coming. I knew that Tylenol was going to be blamed because I've seen the lawsuits going on for 2 years, and I knew we know vaccines have been a huge factor, but I was personally disappointed that other factors were not brought up last night in the press conference, such as environmental factors. What's in our foods? Preservatives, how we are packaging our foods, microplastics, mercury. I mean, the list goes on and on of what could be a factor causing autism. Something I want to jump into is levels of autism. It's been broken down kind of like this. We're going to start with level 1. So level 1 is requiring a little bit of support. Social communication may be difficult, having conversations, struggling to do that back and forth, having that interaction, behaviors that interfere with, maybe everyday functioning, sitting in a classroom and sitting still, for an entire hour through a lesson. This individual may need support, and they often live independently, but they might need some help, some coaching. And this is what some parents may refer to high functioning autism. I would say personally, our family in our situation falls into this category. Now, there is level 2 and level 3 that we're going to discuss. And this is where maybe some parents were a little outraged last night when other parents, and I'll go ahead and say it, guys, level 1 situations may not be as severe. A level 2, a level 3, you may be pulling your child out of the school system and having to do ABA therapy, which we will speak about in more detail this evening, or homeschooling them. This is where they may have nonverbal communication. Their social impairments are very obvious, and they have difficulty coping with change. They may have to eat the same foods every day, the same time of day, the same way. And this obviously requires a lot of support from the parents, the guardian, therapists, whoever may be involved. Then we are talking about level 3. And this is very limited communication, nonverbal, difficulty expressing their needs, difficulty with change. This means they may not be able to travel, go anywhere, build friendships, have a job, and they need 24/7 support. This was an example that RFK was giving last night, where he was talking about children who may not be potty trained and they are still wearing a diaper later in life. And it happens. It absolutely happens. And we all know it's called Autism Spectrum Disorder because it's a wide spectrum. Not everyone fits into one category. Here, here are some of the signs that people notice. Limited eye contact. And you'll start to notice these signs by 6 months. Your child may not be showing expressions like other children are. They lack maybe social engagement and they prefer to play by themselves. I noticed with my child, he was not responding to his name. I would call him and it didn't register with him. And he was fixated on wheels, anything that would spin. He would line his toys up. and he was obsessed with learning. He learned sight words. Honestly, within the first year, he was able to identify them. And when he was able to speak, he would speak those words, but he was not putting together these full sentences to communicate his needs to me. He would know, by 2 years old, he knew all 50 states. He knew all of his planets in the solar system. Yet he could not have a conversation with me or another child about the solar system in a back and forth type of conversation. It was more regurgitating facts and information. So that is where it sometimes becomes tricky, especially for, I'm going to call them out, baby boomers, because they often will think, oh, well, my gosh, the child is so smart. There's no way they could be on the spectrum. Intelligence has nothing to do with being on the spectrum. Some of the greatest, most successful people in our country are actually on the spectrum. Albert Einstein was said to be on the spectrum. We'll go through a list later this evening of some people that you can research that have openly come out with their autism struggles. By 9 months, you might notice there's no sharing, there's no sounds with others. By 12 months, you're going to notice no babbling, pointing, waving, or meaningful gestures. A really great example is by about 1 year old, when a child sees a plane fly in the sky, typically they will look up and they'll point to it. They may not say airplane, but they'll point up and they'll look to it. And these are just kind of those early signs. So if you're noticing some of these signs, what do? You go to your pediatrician, and your pediatrician's job is not to diagnose your child with autism. They could, but it really takes an expert. So your pediatrician is going to write you a referral to go to a psychiatrist or a pediatric neurologist to diagnose properly with autism. Here in Atlanta, we have a great center called Marcus Autism Center. The waiting list is long. One thing you're going to realize if you're just getting into this is the waiting list is long. And I want you to take note of this. Something you're going to want to look into once you do get that diagnosis is something here called Katie Beckett. Katie Beckett is going to provide you with the health care that you need for your child who does have that diagnosis. Moving on to some of what I wanted to talk about in that press conference. Leucovorin was spoken about, and I'm not saying don't try it. I've been doing research on it all summer, but I want to talk a little bit about Leucovorin and what it is. And like I mentioned earlier, it is a drug that they have been using for years in chemotherapy recovery. Now, we're going to watch a clip from Dr. Fry, who has been doing a study on this for some time. And I want to let you know all my resources and information tonight are coming from the Mayo Clinic, a place that I absolutely love. I've been there 2 times. And let's say you are on the path where you don't want to do medication or take medication. There are some natural alternatives you can look into. For example, relationship development intervention, speech therapy. Absolutely, I highly recommend this as soon as you can get them in. Occupational therapy, they may have some motor functions that are delayed. And one thing I highly recommend is ABA therapy. Now, some people will not agree with me on this, but for our family, it was a great success. And what is the ABA? ABA is a structured teaching method, and they focus on encouraging positive behaviors, reducing those harmful behaviors like banging their head against the wall, hurting themselves, punching others, things like that. They work on those skills and work on how to help a child calm themselves down. They're teaching them new skill sets to manage those behaviors. And how they do that is with reinforcement and rewards. So if you do good behavior, you get a reward. Just like in society, you go to work, you get a paycheck, right? Some people frown on ABA therapy, and we will get into that in a moment. So ABA improves to work on communication skills, social interactions. So they may teach a child, how do you approach a friend and say, I would like to play with you? They may teach you or your child personal space. How much space do we give someone? They may be teaching them daily life skills like how to get dressed, potty training, brushing your teeth, washing your hands, basic things like that. Motor and play skills. Some of these skills that do not come naturally to the child is something that they work on in ABA therapy. For us, it was amazing. And every place is going to be a little different. Why is it controversial? So we'll talk about that. Some people compare ABA to training a dog. And personally, I just don't agree with it. You teach a child proper behaviors, not running in the middle of the road, not screaming in the middle of a grocery store. It is just not appropriate behavior. So they kind of work through some of the inappropriate behavior and mostly the harmful behavior, hurting themselves or maybe hurting someone else. So some parents feel ABA is training them to normalize their behavior. Almost what you may have heard the term masking. And masking is more like acting normal or forcing the child to make eye contact when they really don't want to, or forcing them to stop stimming, when really we could teach them other behaviors to calm themselves instead of stimming. Maybe it's spinning around in a circle, flapping your hands. They teach them other behaviors they could do, like maybe deep breathing or trying a different movement or behavior to kind of distract them and try something else. Some people feel that it sends the message that being autistic is wrong and that the child needs to be fixed. Well, I personally feel like that press conference last night did that all on its own. And there was no mention of occupational therapy, speech therapy, or ABA therapy by any of those. I'm not even really going to call them professionals last night because they were not professionals in the autism community. So ABA is definitely something I recommend researching and looking into and seeing if it's the right fit for your child. There is also the theory of doing some natural supplements that may help your child, like fish oil, fatty acids. There are gummies that you can buy your child and try it out and see if it works. Vitamin D probiotics, magnesium, B12, and zinc. A lot of these can really help a child's overall support and feel better and be in a better mood. Now, something about that leucovorin that they are speaking about. Some children's bodies do not absorb the folate properly. So even if you're giving your child some type of supplement, they may not be absorbing it properly because their body is blocking it. So that's what the leucovorin does, is help that come in through their system. So I do want to watch a quick video with Dr. Freiber. He talks a little bit about what leucovorin does and what that means and how to break it down for people to understand a little better.
To a lot, and today we're going to specifically talk about medicine, functional medicine, and treatment, and specifically leucovorin treatment. But I saw a CBS News special where you and your research were highlighted pretty recent, a few months ago, and started down the path of looking into it. I actually bought your book, The Folate.
Oh, thank you.
So let's start with, like, you came from a pretty traditional, we've got clinics full of kids and nobody, that would be traditional medicine, research. And now you're more into, would you consider it functional medicine, biomedical medicine? Like,
in some ways, I think it's kind of medicine.
Yeah. The real medicine.
It's I don't think that you have these boxes. We do have traditional medicine, and traditional medicine works in a certain way, and I think that it has its purpose. But when you have disorders like autism and other disorders that are complex, it doesn't do a really good job. It likes to put things into boxes. And we know that there's certain disorders like autism that don't fall into boxes. They're complex. There's not, as I say, there's not the autism pill, right? I've had patients that didn't come back for follow-up because they said, "Oh, you didn't give me the autism pill, doctor." And that's how we think about it, right? You get a pill, and there's a good TikTok video actually I have on the autism pill, because it's not that's not how it works. Children with autism are complex, and as you said, you see one child with autism, you see one child with autism, and that's something we really try and convey to parents and other doctors and such. As the title of the book, The Folate Fix, is kind of a fun title. But I want to make sure that people understand that it's not a single pill. Folate is extremely important, and the folate pathways are really important for healing the body.
So I would suggest, if you don't know anything about folate in general, it's something to research. I want to talk about something very important before I play a little more about this interview. Please do not think you're going to walk into your pediatrician's office tomorrow and say, "I want to try leucovorin." If they write it for you, I think that would be very unethical, to be honest with you. The proper way to do this, I'm going to give you guys some steps on how to do it, because it's something I've been researching for all summer. I've been doing this all summer. Step one, obviously have a conversation about this with your pediatrician. We've had about 3 conversations with our pediatrician, because we did not ever want to go down the route of medication. After doing some research on this medication, exactly what we are struggling with my son is speech. It's almost like his thoughts get stuck. He has so many words and tools in his toolbox, in his memory, in his brain, but to form a sentence that almost has an opinion that isn't factual is a struggle for him. Everything is very factual based for him. And that to me can be kind of like an echolalia. It could be a memorized script in their head. So I figure if this medication could help him communicate more and get those thoughts out, because I know he's having them, they're just not coming out, then it's worth a shot. The unfortunate thing is we haven't studied the leucovorin long enough to know the side effects in children. That is the scariest part. So I've not come to the point yet where I've tried it. So step 2 has, been a discussion with my doctor and having the research. Step 3 is I'm going to let you know, some of your doctors may tell you need a pediatric developmental doctor or a neurologist, and you're going to find some of these doctors are not covered under insurance. I bless Dr. Fry for the research he's doing, but I did try to set an appointment with him. I was willing to travel to Arizona. He does not take insurance. He's not the only doctor that doesn't take insurance. Most of these doctors who have a specialty this in depth do not take insurance. They are out of pocket. That doesn't mean your insurance company might not reimburse you. They might, but just to get my foot in the door was $2,000. And it's not just Dr. Fry. I got 3 different estimates. So this is a problem that was not discussed last night in the press conference that disappointed me, because a lot of people think that they're just going to walk into their pediatrician's office and get leucovorin. The next step, I would say step 3, is doing something called the FRAT test. Brian, I'm going to pin your comment up here. I'm so excited to have you in my chat this evening. And you say your son's been on leucovorin and we've been seeing Dr. Fry since January. Do you happen to live in Arizona? And I would love, if you were comfortable and you wanted to jump up here on me, I can jump up here with me. Geez, sorry. You're in Phoenix. Okay, so you are near Dr. Fry. If you wanted to jump up here and give your experience, I would love that. I can drop the link here in the comments. Otherwise, if you just want to continue to chat and tell us a little bit about your experience. This is my step number 4, you guys. I will go back to the FRAT test in just a moment here, but step number 4 to me is doing your research, doing your own independent research. You guys, I will absolutely drop Dr. Fry's study. Some of this is going to go way over our heads, guys. That's a lot of medical lingo, and I will absolutely drop those links for you. But it's definitely important to talk to other parents. There are some countries that are way ahead of us with leucovorin right now, and I believe Australia is one of them, where they've already been using this. So, Brian, I am absolutely curious to hear. Donna's asking, how has he been on the medication? Okay, here's what I will do. Brian, I'm going to post the link for you to join me here in the comment section. And don't feel like you have to come on camera. You're welcome to just be a little icon. But if you click on that StreamYard link, it should open up to where you can join me, and you just, take your time. You just use your microphone if you want, or you can use your camera, but you take your time. But I'm telling you, you just sharing this experience with us is going to mean a lot. And I will tell you why. I reached out to Dr. Fry myself 2 weeks ago for that initial appointment, you guys, and I just realized that $2,000 was something we cannot do, plus travel. And then there's follow-up appointments. So I cannot wait to hear Brian give us some details on that experience. Did you get reimbursed from insurance, or is this just something you said we're doing this out of pocket? So I would say step 4 is talking to other parents. Jump on Reddit. Reddit is a great resource. I am not familiar with Substack. Yeah, I'm a little behind times. I'm not cool, but I'm sure there are other parents on those type of platforms discussing their experience. And remember, every experience is going to be different because all of our children are so different, right? John, I really appreciate you saying that. I was so angry yesterday and so angry this morning about that press conference. All I could say to myself is, what can I do today that is positive to make myself feel better about what happened? And I think the best thing I can do is create a little support group and a support system and continue to do these live streams where we talk about autism and what works and what didn't, and not focus on the why and what caused it. I do want to play a little more of Dr. Fry's interview, and hopefully, during that time, Brian, you can prep to get, whether you're doing it on your mobile device or doing it on your laptop. So many people are going to be very eager to hear what your experience has been, and we just can't wait. So let's continue with this interview real quick.
Healing and body functioning, but all of these things work together, and so you can't just give a pill. You have to look at the whole individual, and many times, unless you have the individual's health optimized, something like folate is not going to work optimally. Leucovorin may not work optimally. So, I have a lot of parents that see it and say, okay, now I can just go out and buy a bottle of folinic acid and give it to my child, besides the fact that they'd have to give a whole bottle a day to get the dose that they need. It probably won't work for many other reasons, and that's because it's complex. And that's where the complexity is, where many doctors, which I guess you would put more into the functional integrative medicine type category, really try and look at things from all angles to make sure that we have the body working optimally so that the treatments actually work optimally and the child can recover.
Yeah. So there's a lot of people in my world, like whether they're in my online courses, I have a few high touch coaching participants where I coach them more, I dive in a little bit deeper. And, we've had kids with like very severely low iron or very whatever, when I dive in deep. But, I have been recommending for years that if kids are medically sick, as a behavior analyst, we are obligated ethically to have the parents, have someone rule out medical conditions. And it's like, I see.
So I'm going to pause it right there. I do want to try to get more into the Leucovorin because I think that's why a lot of people have joined us this evening, is to talk about that. And she is getting a little bit more about some other things, his background, his history. I'm going to share this tab with you guys. This is the FRAT test that hopefully this pops up on screen. Okay, this is the FRAT test, and I'm very interested to see if Brian had his child take the FRAP test. This is exactly what Dr. Fry is speaking about. So you would order this test, and you're going to talk to, like I said, you're going to talk to your pediatrician about this, because you're going to put yourself down as a parent, and then right away they want your child's pediatrician's name and their office. They want to make sure that this this doctor is on board. Brian, you just let me know when you're ready to jump in, and then you click that link, and when I see you, I can bring you up. So whenever you're comfortable. So the FRAP test is going to tell you if your child has that deficiency and is having trouble absorbing what is needed, because like they said previously in the interview, folic acid is so important for the brain. And if the child is not absorbing that, then that is a huge issue to be able to communicate, and why you may see some of these children who are absolutely nonverbal. What I will do is instead of this interview that we're watching, I will pull up the interview that Dr. Fry did. They did a news story about autism and a child that started speaking because of taking the Leucovorin. And I'm not trying to push this on anyone. I'm just trying to educate people on what this is, because I think a lot of people are going to run tomorrow and in the next couple of days asking their doctor to prescribe this. And it is not just an easy, like Dr. Freud said, it's not just something they're going to be writing you like left and right. It's going to be very difficult, I believe, to get on this. And they should make it difficult. It shouldn't be given to a child that doesn't have the deficiency. So give me a moment. I am still trying, you guys, sorry, to find that. Trying to find the specific video that is going to show us. Here it is. Here we go.
What did you just spell? What did you spell just now?
As with many autism patients, Oren has trouble absorbing folic acid, which is essential for brain development.
Ooh, you have a great heart.
Child neurologist Dr. Richard Fry has been testing the generic drug Leucovorin as a way of helping the nutrient get through to the brain, and says many patients see significant improvements in their language skills.
It's not just talking, but what we found in our testing is that they were able to understand language in a more complicated fashion and understand the social nuances of language.
It's 100 on the 3-digit number.
Oren.
Okay, so I mean, that is just a sample, you guys. And I do have Brian here. I want to bring Brian up on stage. Thank you so much for joining us and popping in on here.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. I saw you posted on a Facebook group, and I've kind of been, I talked to a couple news outlets, NBC, EAP today, and I just wanted to get in touch with people. It seems like you're sharing great information. Everything that you've said checks out with what we followed with Dr. Fry, and just a little bit of background on on me and my family. My son was diagnosed with my middle of the road autism a year back. Some language delays. He's verbal, but really struggled to articulate like really good language skills, understanding language, but just really struggled with expressive language. And so diagnosed back October of last year. Just dove right in doing research, and Dr. Fry was one of his work came up as what's really been successful and groundbreaking, and certainly accessible and here available in Phoenix. So we pursued that pretty aggressively, got in with them starting in January, did extensive testing. Like you said, we did the FRAT test. We actually all did the FRAT test. I was part of,
Really?
we're part of his clinical trial or his study. It's a transgenerational study across all areas, mitochondrial dysfunction, of course, the folate receptor autoantibodies, and just any data point that might be tied to autism. So we all got the FRAT. Both of my sons actually came up with the antibodies. Only one is diagnosed. The other one is doing just fine. So, like all of this, there's so much variation, and there's no actual like, hey, this kid has it. You're going to give this pill, and it's gonna cure him, or the child with autism. So, got tested. It took some time to really get results. The FRAT, there's only one lab that does that. I think that's something we're going to learn a lot about. Is there's a huge bottleneck with testing. I don't know much about the distribution of leucovorin. We do go through a compound pharmacy, but it's certainly going to be a run on that as well as. But I think you're right that some might be. They're not just going to start writing scripts left and right. There is kind of going to be a ramp up period. But anyway, to long story short, found out FRAT positive. Started leucovorin, and within days we saw improvements.
Days.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, that's amazing. And the story that, they did with him, I want to say that story is several months old, and I do want to get your take, Brian. How did you feel? Did you watch the press conference yesterday?
I did not. I wasn't going to watch it. I was going to read the reports. I just knew it was going to be, it was going to be what it was. Like I just knew, I knew what to look for in the reports. I already knew that it wasn't going to be good, well communicated. So I was just going to wait for the report and just kind of see what the big takeaways. I didn't know. I've talked to Dr. Fry about this before. I didn't know it was going to be like one of the primary items suggested. I actually think the report is pretty good.
I was disappointed he wasn't invited to speak. Because he is one of the main people studying this. I mean, that in our country, of course they've done studies elsewhere, but he has just really been grinding on this for years. And we're going to see an influx. I saw on their Facebook page today, they posted that they are so overloaded with people, that they can't keep up right now. And they said pretty much be patient. So we're going to see an influx with pediatricians. My pediatrician was actually very honest with me and said, listen, I've heard about it, but I'm not educated enough to diagnose and give this medication. And I respected that. I thought that was great of her, to say that to me.
Right. Because, I mean, if you are, a doctor and you're on the outside and this comes up, the studies have not been as extensive if you are, let's say, just a pediatrician that you would like. Like, there does need to be more studying on it. It's kind of the science behind it is clear. And but there still just needs to be, if they're going to really scale this, there needs to be more studying. There just has to be. Hopefully this speeds things up. But one, Dr. Fry, he's been studying for probably a couple decades now, but he's also been treating. I mean, he's treating hundreds of patients, and it's been working for quite a few families. But what they want to, I guess, get it to, as proposed in the report, scaling testing, it's a huge leap, really. Probably about 25,000, 30,000 people, according to fratnow.com, had actually taken the test, and they want millions by Q3 2026. Like, hopefully that they can do that, because the testing is needed. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think that is the message that did not get addressed in the press conference. It was just kind of like, hey, there's this drug. It's called Leucovorin. We're going to have FDA, changed to be an autism symptom treatment. And it was like, whoa, wait, back it up. Like, there are so many more steps as a responsible parent that we need to take. And your child probably shouldn't be on this unless they have the deficiency. And like you said, they test positive on this test, because really, what's the point unless, you're meeting the criteria to be on it? I mean, if you want to try it, maybe, but I would find it very irresponsible if we start seeing pediatricians just writing it out, based on this press conference. And I would hope we don't see that, but that's why I personally was seeking out Dr. Fry myself. I was very impressed with just his research and how he's able to also explain it to a parent and kind of dumb it down for us, because there's a lot of neurological terms when it comes to autism.
Yes, it's a very, go ahead.
Did you, so what were kind of the first steps? What dosage did he start at? And walk me through a little bit, like, how nervous were you? How did this go?
Yeah, definitely not nervous at all. I felt like I understood the medication. They're putting, kids with autism on antipsychotics and SSRI, like, you know what I mean? This is a very safe medicine. You know what I mean? It's been around 80 years. It's basically delivering folinic acid to those that are deficient, or of course, in the case of chemotherapy, that the side effects of chemo are depleting the brain of folate. So was not nervous at all. I felt, good about from the very beginning. He's got a great staff. His wife actually works with him. They're kind of like a team. And, I felt good right away. We had to do a blood draw with my son, which was tough. He was 4, sensitive, and that was uncomfortable for him, and it was tough to see, but we've been very...
4 tubes?
I think it's for the frat, I'm not sure, because he got so many tests done now. So, but yeah, it was a lot of blood.
Yeah, that's kind of, I think, one of the things I'm hesitant. I'm not sure your son's age. My son's 7. Well, no, he's 6. He's going to be 7 soon. We haven't ever done a blood draw, but I don't know. I might be surprised. He might. We had to go back
twice, and he was like shook up for a couple of weeks. Like he's a resilient kid, and it really got to him. He was scared of going to Dr. Fry's office. We've been there about 4 or 5 times this year. We should see him again before the end of the year. It was all necessary, but never worried about getting into his treatment. I really trusted the doctor from the very beginning. As far as experimental, it's still considered experimental medicine. That's why insurance will. They cover half for us, but it's not being covered by insurance. Never worried about it, and we've only had good things.
Another thing that they discussed in the presser yesterday is just getting resources for parents. And one of the things I came across doing my research is Dr. Fry. I don't know if it was for you, but he was not covered under my insurance, and I have pretty awesome insurance. It just went through cancer treatment. Everything was covered. And I've realized that is standard for a lot of these specialty doctors in neurology or developmental pediatrics. So I do think that's one thing that the administration, they're talking about this budget they're making for autism research. That's something they really need to make readily available for parents who don't have insurance. So I assume you ended up having to pay out of pocket for Dr. Fry?
Yeah, we did. It's not cheap. I mean, I don't think he's not, I read some things about being like a money grab. Trust me, there's far other ways to scam, scared parents. He's basically doing it because he's running his own practice. He's running his own practice, and he's running the research side. He's running a whole facility. It's not cheap. You go there, you're not showing up for 15 minutes. You do that introductory consultation. You meet for 2 hours. He gets to know you really well. When you do a follow-up appointment, and it's the full hour, you just spend time with them, and it's been a big investment. Luckily, my insurance basically then covers half. So after follow-up appointments, are about $450, $500. But that's what it took. But yes, it has to be made available to all families if this is really going to be implemented.
Yeah, I think that's some of the things they're going to learn here pretty soon. I imagine we are going to, I already saw on Google that there is a shortage of Leucovorin. Have you experienced that yourself where you guys weren't able to get it or anything like that?
No, we work with a compound pharmacy out in Pennsylvania. We might experience. We just got a 3-month supply. Fortunately, they might have a massive demand, but they're only partnering with certain neurologists at the time. Now, of course, Leucovorin is available through just generic. A number of manufacturers make it. Sure. Dr. Fry does take issue with the majority of those, just because how meticulous he is with the additives. But those there is other availability. But for what they'll need, if this really ramps up, they'll need to massively expand manufacturing and distribution, because I'm not sure if you looked at the FRAT numbers. The thought is 60 to 80% of kids with autism have these folate receptor autoantibodies, and if you do that math, we're talking millions of kids. That if this would be really offered in mass, would be taking this, and that scares some people. They're very, very reluctant to take medication. There's a lot of suspicion around. But people need to realize that this is like this vitamin. This is you should get the test, and it should be for people that need it, that have the deficiency. But it's very low risk. So
yeah, I really appreciate you taking the time. I will say the first time I saw the story, I was like, man, that mom's crazy. But then the more I did research on it, exactly like you said, it is something natural in our body that we should be having. And if there is a blockage and they're deficient, that's something they need to communicate. So I love that you were able to kind of probably ease some fear for some parents as well by talking to us this evening.
Yeah. And like I said, it happened in a week. It was unbelievable. It was very special. So
I'm going to drop my email in the comments, and please keep us all updated. And I'd love to have you back in a couple of weeks just to kind of talk more about the progress too. Yeah.
Appreciate you let me drop in. I've been excited to share my experience and just make sure people are getting the right information. It sounds like you're really, your stuff, and you're sharing good stuff here. So have a great night. Okay.
I think thank you so much. It's so important to do the research yourself as a parent, because some of these things may not be the right fit. Something I was also talking about was ABA therapy. I'm not sure if that's something you guys did in your family, but for us, that was a huge help.
Okay. Yeah. We do ABA. This isn't like a magic pill it's been everything. It is a big piece though. So I do have to drop here, but thank you so much. I'll be following, and you're doing a great job sharing the right information.
Okay. Oh, thank you so much. Okay. I'll see you soon.
Bye.
All right, guys, that was Brian. He is out of Phoenix. I'm going to drop my email so we can keep in touch with him and get updates on his son's progress. I love that. That wasn't even planned. That's just how it happened. I was on a group. I suggest some of you join this group as well if you are trying to get some information and learn about the Leucovorin. It is a group called Leucovorin for Autism on Facebook. Yes, Donna says, thank you for sharing. Thank you so much for sharing your experience. This is the group, you guys, if you're interested in joining it. And I definitely plan to put some of these links down in the chat, the comment section for this. I don't even feel the need to play that interview that we were watching, the rest of it, because he was able to explain exactly what happened for this other family. They literally noticed a change the week of taking the Leucovorin. Could it be the right thing for some families? It sounds like it could. It sounds like it absolutely could be. But there's more that we can continue to do. Continue looking into the speech therapy, look into the ABA therapy. There's also a program, you may have heard of it. It's pretty expensive, but it's called the Brain Balance. And I'll make my screen a little bigger here so you guys can see it. We went for the consultation. We decided this is not something we wanted to spend the money on, but many of you may have probably heard about Brain Balance. And it is a program that they do with your child. They're obviously going to evaluate your child and study them, and then start doing activities after they kind of realize, is your child left brain? Are they right brain? Okay. So left brain is kind of the gas pedal. That is the kid that is always on the go, always having to do something, maybe has ADHD. This sounds a lot like my son. Pattern recognition, IQ intelligence, linear and logical thinking. That's something you definitely will sometimes notice. Fine motor skill struggle. That's something we noticed very early on. And right brain, big picture, nonverbal, and big muscles, able to do those gross motor skills, and they understand abstract concepts. Very flexible. They had good control, tactical processing, reading, math, and comprehension, where the left brain may be more numbers, spelling, grammar. So this was very interesting. However, I'm going to be honest, guys, I was not willing to pay the money to do it. But what they told me they would be doing is they would develop a program where they would work with my son and kind of do things to balance out left and right. Because the more they would get the brain going, the more you would see changes. And that is something very basic you hear with occupational therapy. If you get your child moving those muscles, getting outside, kicking that soccer ball, you're going to also notice more speech. And that is just something you're going to see in a lot of these studies. We are coming up on an hour now. Gosh, I didn't even plan to speak this long. I'll definitely have to do another one, but please consider looking into those steps I mentioned if you want to go down the path of Leucovorin. If you are at that point where you've done your research, you've tried these other therapies, they're working for you, but they just haven't done it for you, then look into the Leucovorin. The first step is talking to your pediatrician and saying, I want to do the FRAT test. F-R-A-T. Think of a frat house. So you order the kit. We ordered ours. It's going to come to the house. And then we need to go somewhere to get the blood drawn. I'm glad he was very honest that blood draw was traumatic, because that is something I was worried about. I'm still trying to decide if we're going to do it. Honestly, I think we might go. And if he's hesitant and doesn't want to do it, I'm not forcing it. I'm not going to force it. We'll wait till he's a little older. But I think it depends on everyone's situation and how severe their child's case is. Another thing I just want to mention before I jump on here is Katie Beckett I cannot tell you with certainty if this is in all 50 states. I believe it is. Katie Beckett is a program to get your child on Medicaid. Now, step one, and how this works, guys. So I guess this is a Georgia thing, but I'll mention it anyway. Let's say you live in the state of Georgia, and maybe there's other programs similar to Katie Beckett, but let me add this up. You're going to apply for disability for your child. Unless your child is so disabled, they literally cannot function, you're going to get denied disability. Then you're able to apply for Katie Beckett. Katie Beckett is a very hard process. They want every document, medical document you have. The best thing I can suggest to you, if you happen to live in the county I live in, Walton County, there's someone named Bonnie Morris. She will help you walk through how to apply for Katie Beckett. The first time we did apply for Katie Beckett, we hired someone. Her name is Debbie Dobbs. You can search her, Debbie Dobbs in Georgia. You can pay her to do it all for you. However, I will be honest, there was a lot of extra stuff I had to do and gather for them. But because it is so hard, and they want over like 700 pages of your child's doctor visits, diagnosis to get you approved, it's difficult. But don't give up, because here's what Katie Beckett does. It covers your child. It gives your child Medicaid. And if you have insurance, like we had insurance, this is a supplement. So every year that your insurance company is going to make you pay that out-of-pocket cost, the first couple months of the year where you're like, oh my God, this is so expensive. Katie Beckett covers that for you. So do some research into Katie Beckett. If you're in Georgia, I just can't tell you for certain if this is in other states. The application is online, but it is very tedious and difficult, you guys. You might think, hey, I'm very organized, I'm going to do this on my own, and then you'll just get denied. So I really suggest getting yourself an autism advocate to walk you through how to do this. I want to thank everyone for joining tonight, everyone being so kind to each other, not debating what caused it, why is it happening, I think the best thing we can do is be a support system for each other as parents. And I hope to do this in the future and continue to do this and educate other people. So thank you guys so much for joining me, and best of luck to all of you. And I want to say one last thing. You did not cause your child's autism. I feel that that press conference really shamed mothers who may have used Tylenol in their pregnancy, or shamed parents who decided to get their children vaccinated. Not that some of them even had a choice, because some places, some schools, you have to have certain vaccinations for your child to go there, or summer camps. So it wasn't like you really had a chance, but you didn't cause this. Autism's been around forever. That is what I wanted to end with. I have a note here of famous people I just wanted to throw out there who have the autism spectrum disorder, and they're open about it. So maybe go research them. Number one, most people know Elon Musk, Courtney Love, the musician, Anthony Hopkins, the actor, Tim Burton, the movie director, and recently was the Playboy playmate, Holly Madison, said that she had a diagnosis. There's many more out there who may not even be talking about it. Donna says, my grandson is on Social Security, disability, on Medicaid, and will it be easier for him to get this medication? I can't say that, Donna. I think it is too early to tell. My best suggestion for you is reach out to your doctor, your pediatrician now, and say, I would like a referral to see a neurologist, a pediatric neurologist, because I'm going to be honest, your pediatrician is probably not qualified to write this script. Unless you go ahead and order the frat test. I should put that link in our chat right now. I suggest ordering this frat test and see if your child has the deficiency or not, and be patient, because man, they got hit with getting Leucovorin's name dropped in the media. So here's that kit to order, Donna. I suggest you order the kit, see if your child has, or sorry, your grandson has, okay, so they have a neurologist already. Perfect. Have mom, or if it's you, the caretaker, book that appointment with the neurologist. Go ahead and tell them, I'm ordering the frat kit, the frat test. You can order it right now. I ordered it and it didn't ask me for any payment. I thought that was really weird. So anyway, you can go through, you're going to put your, sorry guys, neurologist or pediatric office's name on there. They're going to need to contact fratnow.com and say, yes, I approve the kit, send the kit to my patient. Okay, so it's mom. So go ahead and have mom order the kit. From what I've experienced, I haven't had to pay a dime or anything. Then I let my pediatrician know today, hey, I ordered the kit. So when they ask you, just like contact lenses, you know, you order your contacts online and then they go and check to make sure you really have a prescription that's up to date. So this sounds similar, where Frat Now is going to contact the pediatrician and say, do you want this? Then your kit comes in the mail, and then they're going to tell you to go take that to like probably a children's hospital and get the blood draw. I know our pediatric office does not do blood draws. I personally wouldn't take my child with autism to LabCorp unless they have someone experienced with a neurotypical child and drawing blood. I just think you need a very calming environment. From what Brian said, it's a lot of blood. So next step is getting that blood draw, seeing if your child has the deficiency. It's going to take about 3 to 4 weeks, it said on their website, to get the results back. I'm going to say it's going to take more now that people are being told to do this. So I guess we need to be patient. And then, like Dr. Fry said in the study, 75% of kids do have this deficiency who have autism. So that is probably going to give the neurologist the green light go to prescribe this medication. So I'm hoping that helps, Donna. In the comment section, yeah, if he's afraid of getting his blood drawn, definitely have a conversation with the neurologist. Is there an anxiety medicine that can be done? Is there it sounds like there's no way around this frat test, though. That's the thing. You need to do the frat test to know if there's a deficiency. Maybe they'll write it without it. Personally, I wouldn't suggest it. I feel like you really should be having the deficiency if you're going to take this medication. So that's something maybe you guys are going to have to come up with a reward system. Maybe like, we're going to go get this blood draw, but then after we're going to go see your favorite movie or watch your favorite movie or go do something that you really love doing, and try to explain to your child, like my child's only 6 years old, so it's going to be difficult, but we're going to have that conversation. His favorite thing to do is go to Hobby Lobby. So I guess I'm going to really have to hype up. We're going to go get this blood draw, and then we're going to Hobby Lobby, and you get to pick out, how many vials of blood they take. If they take 3 vials, you get to pick up 3 things at Hobby Lobby. I don't know, just going to have to do some type of trade-off to make it worth it. I'm sure there are some anxiety medications that could be given to do that blood draw to just kind of take it down a little bit for them. I've also seen, and I don't know, Medicaid might cover a nurse coming in home and doing the blood draw, and maybe they could do it while the child is sleeping. Honestly, I wouldn't rule it out. I wouldn't rule it out. It is a possibility. The possibilities are endless, but I hope this conversation helped all of you. I hope we all can continue to remain in contact and share our stories of what's working and what doesn't work. And I'm hoping the next time we meet, I can have a neurologist join me, or maybe even Dr. Fry himself. I will reach out. I'm sure he's a pretty busy guy, but hey, it doesn't hurt to try. And thank you all. If you guys want to reach me, even though I have changed the name of my podcast to Deadline Crime, I usually cover true crime cases. But like I said, I'm a mama. I'm a former journalist, and I'm very, very passionate about talking about autism and what we can do to help people in our community and our own children. So Crafted Evidence is my previous podcast name. So if you want to reach out to me, you can email me at craftedevidence@gmail.com. Donna, I'm just so happy to be able to give you information and for us to help each other as a community, because like I said, I walked away from that press conference so angry yesterday and woke up angry this morning. I said to myself, what can I do to do something positive today? And speaking about this and sharing the research I've done, and like, my gosh, it was like a blessing from God himself to have Brian join us, and just happened to see me comment on Facebook and say like, hey, I'm having a live stream tonight, and he jumps in, right? Like, how awesome. So I love that we were all able to connect, and I hope to talk to you all soon.